What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on Rotogrinders. I am Justin Van Zuiden, aka STL Cardinals 84. We'll be hosting the show for you here tonight. We are in our now normal Monday night time slot here for those of you who are watching us live. So getting this info out to you nice and early. We are one full week away from PGA Championship week, so that'll be next week. And before that, we've got the AT&T Byron Nelson here this week. So we will break that down here for you on the show tonight. Again, Justin Van Zuiden, aka STL Cardinals 84 here, alongside my usual co-host, Mr. Derek Farnsworth, aka Notorious. Noto, what's going on?
Not much, just trying to get used to this Monday show. Doing the research a little early, don't have ownership, so we're kind of flying blind a little bit, but yeah, doing good. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad. I think we're both feeling better. We were both under the weather a week or two ago, so it's nice to be through that and on the mend. And I didn't get a whole lot of lineups entered last week because of everything that was going on, and I think it probably worked out for the better for me, because there was a lot of popular players that I would, or maybe some not as popular, but some players that I would have had exposure to last week that missed the cut by one or two shots, would have ended up with a bunch of Rory. So glad I didn't get the old mass multi-entry in last week, though I was on Cameron Young in the article, and Rory did end up finishing fifth there with a nice run on the weekend. So who knows? But wouldn't have had as much exposure to Homa probably as I should have, and really good for him to get a victory there. And it was just kind of the guys who steadied the ship enough. I mean, Jason Day was in the driver's seat there after Friday, had a terrible round Saturday, and then Keegan Bradley couldn't get anything done on Sunday, and Max Homa got it done with 4 consistent rounds. So we saw a lot of shakeups there on the leaderboard. The course played pretty difficult over the weekend there at TPC Potomac. So how was the Wells Fargo for you?
Didn't have any Max Homa, didn't have any Cam Young, so nothing good for me in MME or in my main lineup. Luckily got bailed out by Showdown. I keep relying on that, and eventually that well's going to run dry, but ended up being a profitable week. As far as Jason Day, man, didn't see that coming. And then if he would have just shot one over each of the weekend rounds, he would have been in a playoff. So he was 10 under par after Friday's round. Pretty crazy. It's at least good to see him back out there. Same with Ricky Fowler. I think he finished top 25, something like that. Matthew Wolff, we were joking about all these guys on the Twitter Spaces. And everyone should join those when we start doing it. We're going to do another one for the PGA Championship. But yeah, just funny. We talked about all those guys and then they all came out and played well.
Yeah, it's Fowler, Wolf, and Day all up there at the top after Friday. And that's when I was like, oh, glad I didn't do 100 entries. But I guess a lot of those guys did fade a bit on the weekend. So, you never know how things would have shaken out. But it was a really strange leaderboard there after the first couple of rounds. But then we end up with Homa and Fitzpatrick and Cam Young and Keegan and Rory as your top 5. And all those guys are fairly household names. So, it's just weird how tournaments often shake out like that, particularly when courses play difficult like this one did. You saw the cut line coming at even par. I mentioned it played a lot harder on the weekend. So you had, 30 guys or so end up at +4 or worse, even though they made the cut. A difficult golf course, and one that seems to always be ready to host whenever a fill-in course is needed. We'll see if they eventually get it on the normal rotation, but it was certainly a challenge for the golfers that were out there last week. Other takeaways from the tournament for you there, outside of all the, like Patrick Reed went 68-79. It was just a You saw a lot of that, a lot of big blow up rounds there on that course.
Yeah, Svensson was one of them. He was one of the guys I was on. Started off great and then blew up on Friday. But yeah, the course was tough and the weather didn't help. I think Lahiri ended up having a quote saying, Saturday's round was like a 12-round boxing match. So, he got a lot of grief for that quote. But yeah, I mean, it was tough out there. The course definitely plays tough, even when it's been good weather here in the past. It's been a tough test. So I like the course. Hopefully we see it a little bit more often. I think this week's going to be a little bit different in terms of the scoring. But yeah, it's good seeing Homa. I mean, he's now won 3 times in his last 30 starts. Pretty incredible. Matt Fitzpatrick, I continue to bet him. He continues to fall just short, but another good outing from him. And then Lonzo Griffin and Brian Harmon, 2 guys that I like to play a lot, both finishing in the top 10. So yeah, it was a fun leaderboard. I didn't get to watch a bunch of it, but yeah, I think it's a good event, good course.
Griffin has made a habit the last couple of weeks of a strong round on Sunday to climb himself up the leaderboard, and you mentioned him on last week's show. So Adam Shank back with another top 10 as well. I think like his last 7 or 8 starts, it's like 5 missed cuts and 3 top 10s or something like that. So he used to be the guy that was the steady cut maker, finish T50. We would joke about it on the show, but now lately it's been top 10s or bust for Adam Shank, which has completely flipped the script from what we're used to with him. But it's weird how those sequences work sometimes. So if you want to chat along with us during the show, you can hop on over to the Rotogrinders free Discord server. As long as you've got a Rotogrinders account, doesn't have to be a premium one. You can get in at rotogrinders.com/Discord and join in the chat in the live stream chat channel to chat along with us during the show. So anything else from last week before we pivot over to a new one?
No, I think we're ready to get going.
All right, so let's talk about the AT&T Byron Nelson. This is a tournament that has switched courses multiple times. There was the 1 year that they hosted it at the place that everybody was shooting like 30 under for the week. Now I can't even remember the name of that course. They only got to host it once. And everybody, basically it was just birdies abound. So they've tried different courses and have settled, at least for the next 4 years, on TPC Craig Ranch, which hosted it for the first time a year ago. So what can you tell the people about this course?
Are you thinking of Trinity Forest?
Trinity Forest, yes. Thank you.
One tree on the property. That was that was
a joke.
I didn't really like that course. So glad to see it at TPC Craig Ranch, although it is going to be a birdie fest. Last year, the first time they played it, 6 players were 20 under or better. It ended up being the 5th easiest course on the tour, and there were 20-mile-per-hour winds both Saturday and Sunday. So I would expect the winning score to be 25 to 30 under par, maybe similar to what we saw at the Tournament of Champions, which isn't that great, especially, with the field being stronger this time around than we saw last year with a lot of guys kind of getting ready for the PGA Championship. But the course, par 72, 7,500 yards about, 4 par 5s. All of them are pretty reachable by the field, so you're going to see a lot of birdies there. You're going to see a lot of approach shots from 200-plus yards. Last year, 35% of the approach shots were hit from 200-plus yards. You usually see that in around the 18 to 20% range, so maybe that's just a small sample.
Does that include par 5s where guys, does that include all par 5s or just par 5s where they're going for the green into? Do you know how that works with par 5?
I believe they have to be going for it, but I'm not sure.
I think that's right too, but I and a lot of guys do on this course because the par 5s from a distance perspective in today's day and age are pretty manageable. It's not like they're 650. So you are going to see a lot more guys go for it in 2 on some of these par 5s, which probably contributes to that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Just a higher number than I'd ever seen. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But I mean, the fairway is very easy to hit. They're pretty wide. The green's very easy to hit. Scrambling success rate, extremely easy. 3-putt percentage was very low here. So pretty much everything's easier than tour average. I'm not really looking at anything in particular. I think you're going to have to be good with your irons. I think you're going to have to make a lot of putts. Typically, the easier the course, the more, variance comes into play because everyone's going to be hitting greens, and then it kind of turns into a putting contest. So, I don't have any strong takes. Do you?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think just targeting birdie makers and bombers. Bryson had some quotes last year about this kind of being a track that caters to bombers. So, yeah, I think you can play the distance angle a little bit this week, and then just guys that can score and get hot. If it turns into a putting contest or a birdie fest, a lot of times you see some unpredictability, which, KH Lee won here last year. So, I think you can maybe look to differentiate your GPP lineups a little bit this week as well.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
All right, so let's go ahead and start breaking it down here. We've got our usual, 4 or 5 golfers above 10K on DraftKings, though the pricing does seem somewhat loose at the top this week. But I guess tier 1 is Scotty Scheffler at this stage because he's turned into prime Tiger Woods. Wins every week, it seems like. I think like 4 of his last 5 events, something crazy like that. But all right, we've doubted him kind of throughout this stretch. What are we doing with Scheffler? He's in his own tier.
I mean, I've missed out on 3 wins. I can't hop on now. I mean, most expensive guy. He is. I mean, I was looking at Data Golf today. He's number 1 in their rankings in 2022 since the start of last July and since the start of 2021 in this field. So, I mean, he deserves to be the top guy. I'll probably have a little bit in MME because I'm done fading him completely. I don't like having my week being over by Saturday night. So I'll have a little bit of him, especially because I don't really love DJ or Spieth that much. But I do like JT a little bit more in terms of, deciding between the 2 guys at the top. JT's irons, very good. Just comes down to the putter. And he's been a little bit better this year than he has been in the past. So I don't think you can go wrong up there. I don't think you need to prioritize somebody up here if you're doing single entry, because I do think the 9K range is pretty strong. But yeah, I like Scheffler and Thomas a lot more than DJ and Spieth.
Yeah, we're kind of in agreement there. Thomas would be my favorite as well. Spieth played well here last year, but his quotes were a little strange. And, he mentioned that the course doesn't necessarily cater to his strengths, and it's a fairly open course that, again, if you consider the bomber angle, then, it doesn't maybe fit Spieth as much as some other guys. But he did play well here last year. So, as usual, doesn't take much convincing to keep me away from him. So I'm lower on Spieth this week as well. So probably Thomas for sure at the top, and then I'll start quite a few lineups in the 9K range. But really interesting to see what people do with Scheffler. Somebody tweeted at us about half an hour before the show and said, I hope you guys are going to be all about Scotty on the live stream because Scotty is greater than the entire 10K range. Can't fault anyone for saying that at this point because he certainly keeps proving it every time he tees it up. So, some people, if you've just been riding Scheffler all in every week, then you can count your dollar bills and laugh at all of us.
How did he and Palmer do at the team event? Did Palmer drag him down?
I got to find it now. I didn't 20 for some reason. I'm blanking on how they finished this. That was the week that Cantlay and Xander ended up kind of coasting.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up the leaderboard here. So Palmer, they finished T18 at 18 under par. So yeah, Palmer dragged him down. Certainly, if it was Scheffler and Scheffler, then they would have won, obviously. So.
I was going to say Palmer's good for T36 and Scheffler wins, so that makes a lot of sense.
That's right. Split the difference. Yeah, they finished T18 at 18 under par. So, all right, let's go ahead and move into the 9K range. Then seems interesting to see Xander buried a little bit in the pricing. Curious to see what that's going to end up doing to his ownership, but he's 6th in salary. Will Zalatoris is a guy who is a local native. You'll hear that narrative a lot this week. He grew up playing the course a lot. So Xander and Zalatoris will, if I had to guess, be the most popular of these plays in the 9K range. And it's also interesting that we've got this strong of a field the week before a major. Does that surprise you or not?
I think just so many of the events leading up to this week have been so bad that golfers haven't wanted to play them. Like nobody wanted to go to Mexico. And then last week you're deciding between, that course and this one's actually pretty close to Southern Hills. So I think the proximity certainly
that's
helps.
A fair point.
And I think everybody just wants to get one, event warming up before the major. So they probably just picked this one.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. So the field is a little deeper than what I had originally expected. So we've got some quality here in the 9K range. Mr. Major Brooks Koepka teeing it up this week. You've got Neiman, you've got Fleetwood, at the bottom end of this range. So kind of some more household names, particularly that compared to what we've seen like the last month. Maybe that's why it looks so much better, just because the last few have been so poor. So your thoughts on the 9K range?
Yeah, I like Xander quite a bit. Just seems like a guy with a really high floor, really high ceiling. I know we can't give him too much credit for the win in the team event, but he had to have at least played fairly well going up with Cantlay. He's a guy that doesn't have a big weakness. I like Sam Burns a lot as well. Second here last year, guy that tends to play easy courses very well, makes a ton of birdies. He doesn't have any weaknesses either in his game. I like Neiman. He's turned his biggest weakness around the green into a strength. If you look at 2022, he's seventh in this field, strokes gained around the green. And then since the start of 2021, he's 66. So he's gotten a lot better around the green. Not that you're going to need that this week necessarily, but everything else kind of checks out too. So I like those three. Certainly no issue with Zalatoris, but he's a guy that says he loves hard golf courses. And we've seen it time and time again. I just ran some numbers on, easy courses, and out of 100, he got a score of 83, and everyone else around him is, in the mid to high 90s. So I don't mind him, but I do think he's a better play next week than this week.
Yeah, it is interesting when you weigh, how much he's played the course. I think T17 here last year. I'm a fan. It does worry me slightly with the easy course and the fact that sometimes he'll miss his share of 5-footers, but I got to play some of them this week, particularly since I think he's just maybe slightly underpriced. Like, I don't know. Hideki feels a little overpriced at 9,900. I don't think a lot of people will play Brooks with, the week before a major. Fleetwood at 9K, that feels a little steep as well. So the other guys I think I can get behind. It will be interesting to see how ownership splits among Burns, Zalatoris, Neiman, and Xander. They're kind of four guys right in a row that all will probably carry their fair share of ownership. Maybe that spreads them out a little bit. Hard to say. I mean, do you think Xander is the chalk of this range?
Yeah, I think Xander will be popular. I don't know. Burns is always popular. Zalatoris is always popular. Neiman's been gaining a lot of steam. So we could see some spread out ownership. But to your point,
I think you'll see a lot of people start lineups with two guys here.
I think that's what I'm going to do. And to your point, Hideki, hard to trust him. I mean, he's only, played one full tournament in the last couple months. Brooks just seems overpriced. And then, Tommy, he's been playing well, but a lot of it's been the short game. He's had weeks where he's gained like 8 strokes putting and finished T25. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think those four, Xander, Burns, Zalatoris, and Neiman are really strong plays.
Yeah, start out with a couple of those guys if you're not starting with Scheffler or JT at the top. And you can make a pretty good balanced looking lineup starting with a couple of golfers in the 9K range. So any other thoughts on the 9Ks before we move along? Otherwise, you can start digging into the next range.
Are you playing any Tommy? You buying into the form?
I don't know. At 9K, I don't know. I don't know if I want to play him on a course that could get to 25 under either.
Yeah.
That might be just more of a bias thing than anything. I mean, it feels like he generally has played well on the harder courses too, but I don't know. That might be just selective memory.
So in those easy course ratings out of 100, Brooks is 48, so he definitely likes the harder courses. Fleetwood 89, a little bit better than Zalatoris.
Oh, that's higher than I would have expected. Like I say, selective memory, or you just think about him. He doesn't play a ton of events over here, comparatively speaking, so you just don't remember the one he does well on the easy courses because he doesn't play a ton of them. So, all right, let's move into the 8Ks. Who do you liking at the top end of that range?
All right. So Adam Scott, I feel like I'm just going to save him for next week. He's another one of those guys that I think is a good ball striker, so kind of benefits from the difficult courses. Although he's turned into a very good putter. I don't know if it's sustainable, but he's been a top 15 putter over the last year, which is kind of crazy. I like Taylor Gooch. I like Jonathan Vegas. I lowered my exposure, last week on Vegas after worrying about the arm surgery, and I'm glad I did, just because I've been burned so many times. I also lowered my exposure to Paul Casey, so I'm glad we did that Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, the news started to fly on that on Wednesday when he withdrew from the Pro-Am. So I'm not sure why he keeps his name in the fields this, for these tournaments. But buyer beware next week with a major with Casey. That'll be the first X for me, so I'm not even tempted. Because he could be
Yeah.
like 7,500 next week or something.
And yeah, and the model's gonna have him like number 2 in the ratings. But yeah, so Vegas, he gained 10 strokes on approach last week, which is pretty wild. We know he's good off the tee, he's a bomber. And his biggest weakness is around the green, and I don't think that's going to be a big issue this week. So love Vegas. I like Gooch, and then don't really love anyone else. I mean, Kokrak maybe an MME play. We know the upside's there, but he's just been the ball striking's definitely been trending in the wrong direction. Jason Day just too expensive for me. I worry about Aaron Wise's putting. So yeah, give me Vegas and Gooch in this range.
Yeah, Vegas, I like them a lot. I mean, you look at the numbers; they're all pretty strong. And you mentioned it, around the green has been the struggle, and that's probably not going to be an issue. Um, Gooch's numbers are really strange. Like for now, I've got 50 rounds up here. Last 50 rounds, he's 110th in off the tee, but still 13th in tee to green. So he's been making up for it everywhere else. But there's not a lot of trouble on this course. You know, there's some water, but it's fairly open. So, you know, you can maybe spray it a little bit off the tee as long as you're at least keeping it in play and get away with it. Hitting from the rough doesn't seem to be that penalizing, as long as you're not, you know, OB or in the water. So, yeah, I think that, again, make a nice balanced lineup here. I'm off of Day after that collapse last week. Who knows, you know, if the back started acting up or something. But I think Vegas, and Adam Scott are decent plays. And then you get down to the bottom part of this range. Last 50 rounds, 11th in this field in total strokes gained, 4th in tee to green, 7th in ball striking, 12th in off the tee, 17th in approach, and 11th in DK scoring. So that is Aaron Wise, who's always a kind of boom or bust scorer type, perfect for the setup for this course. And the last few weeks, when he's been in good spots, he's been really popular. So I would imagine Wise at 8,100 will get plenty of steam this week, and it's hard to argue against it, as long as, you know, his game stays as, you know, strong as where he's been over the last 4 months or so. So Wise at the lower end of the 8K range. Really, I think it's a fairly weak range. I mean, you mentioned Kokrak, Day, after the collapse last week. Cam Champ's approach numbers are still awful. You know, Hadwin, maybe he gets a little steam, but doesn't feel like the absolute best course for him. So yeah, I guess Aaron Wise is probably the choice, the default for a lot of people at the lower end of the 8K range. And that's interesting. Like, if you're doing a single lineup build or you're playing cash games, like, Aaron Wise has never been a guy that we've considered a cash game lock. Like, is Aaron Wise a cash game play this week?
Not for me. I don't think I'll have any of Wise.
Not a fan.
So just looking at his upside, he's finished in the top 5% of fields one time in his last 31 events. So I don't know if the upside's there. The cut rate's fine. You mentioned, I mean, the ball striking is awesome, no doubt about it. But I worry about him putting on a course where, you know, you're gonna have to make a lot of putts. So to be fair, I get him wrong every time, so I just stopped playing him. So that's part of the reason. I do like Hadwin. He's streaky with the iron, streaky with the putter. He's gained at least 3.3 strokes on approach and 4 straight, 3 top 10s during that stretch. So I'll play Hadwin over Wise, especially if his ownership's a little bit lower. Are you
and
playing?
That could be it could be just a little bit of bias on my end. I mean, Wise does seem to pop as we got ownership now, actually, mid-show ownership update, the very first one. So all right, well, we were around it. Right now we've got Wise at 19 and Hadwin at 22, and the two most popular plays of the entire 8K range. So smart. We're smart.
Smart.
And let's see, those 4 guys that we mentioned at the 9K range right now: Shoffley 17, Burns 26, Zalatoris 22, Neiman 17. So, and again, these are very early, first rough draft. Thanks to Trey for getting that out swiftly and posted for us to at least have something to navigate here on Monday evening. So, anything else on the 8Ks for you?
I think that's it for me. What about Cam Champ? I never get him right either.
Yeah, no thanks. The approach numbers are still really bad, and It's just no. At 8K, he's just overpriced, and I suppose you can just bomb and gouge this course, but I'm out.
I'm out too. But yeah, played well. What was it last time? I think it was Mexico.
I didn't play him
Yeah.
then either. I haven't played him in forever, so let's see. Our projections don't like him either.
Play Gim at the Players and play Champ at the Masters.
There you go.
That's it.
That's it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the 7K range. Then I think this is the spot where you can start to differentiate those GPP lineups a little bit. And you don't have a whole lot of chalk in here. Looks like we've got McNeely at some pretty high ownership, but I like some potential lower owned gems in this range. I'll let you start. Where are you looking at the 7.6 to 7.9K?
So even at high ownership, I do think McNeely's a really good play. I mean, the ball striking numbers have been great this year. He's actually a very good putter. If you look at his numbers, I mean, he's top, 40 in this field and bent grass. And over the last 12 months, over the last 6 months, his biggest weakness, similar to Vegas, is around the green. And I'm not worried about that this week. So just a consistent guy that's shown some upside. I do like McNeely. I think Alex Noren's interesting. He's made a ton of cuts in a row. The irons have really come alive this year, and we know the putter's good. So I think if you have either a bomber or a putter combo or irons and putter, I think that's a good way to attack this week. You can certainly get it done ball striking too, but you're going to have to make a ton of birdies one way or the other. So I like Alex Noren. And then going right back to Lanto Griffin. No reason not to. I think he gained over 10 strokes ball striking last week, and we know he's a very good putter as well, just struggles around the green. So just another guy that I think is a really good fit for this course.
There's a guy that you can't say you get wrong. You've gotten him right 2 in a row. So he's your new boy, your boy Lanto Griffin. You've adopted him.
My new Harmon.
He's your new Harmon. The new Griffin is the new Harmon. That'll be it. So, all right. And Chris Jimino has been working behind the scenes, putting together a revised, updated golf model for us. It's separate from Noto's model. So if you look at just our general fantasy point projections in our tools, if you've got a Rotogrinders premium subscription, which we encourage you to give us a try at rotogrinders.com. If you wonder what we're talking about, our lineup HQ tools offer, projections, projected ownership, Noto's data numbers, top 5, top 10 probabilities, etc. And then you can, build lineups in there if you've never used it before. But our general projections, Chris Jimino is working to kind of update our models there and put that together. And he mentioned in the projections channel that we have to discuss these that the model for some reason always likes Mito Pereira, and he's trying to figure out what to do with that information. So if you sort by like points per dollar projections, he pops quite a bit. It looks like looks okay in your model numbers as well. So what do we do with him at 7,600? Looks like he's projecting for fairly low ownership. So interesting dynamic with Mito.
Yeah, I'm surprised so many people have hopped off him this year. He was like the popular guy for 6 months straight when the ball striking was great. And then at the start of the year, it was his putter that was carrying him, and then now all of a sudden the ball striking is back. So love Mito, especially on these easier courses. I mean, he won 3 times on the Corn Ferry Tour, and those are all pretty much easy courses. So anytime you get him in Birdie Fest, I love Mito, even though. Actually, the short game's not as bad as you might expect. He's about middle of the pack in both around the green and putting in this field. So yeah, love Mito. What about you?
Yeah, I think I might be sold on a little bit. If your model likes him okay, and Chris's model likes him okay, and right now we've got him at 3% ownership. Maybe that'll come up a little bit, but certainly don't hate him compared to Straka or Munoz or Kuchar or some of those other guys in there. So. Yeah, I didn't really have a strong lean coming in, but I think I'm on board, especially in multi-entry GPP builds where, again, I think getting different makes a little sense this week. And perhaps his ownership comes up. Maybe we've got some convincing power and he gets a little more owned in the RG kind of bubble. But don't mind that at 7,600. Again, if you just think this can be a bomb and gouge type of thing, somebody like Bubba Watson or Keith Mitchell could play. KH Lee's the defending champ. So again, still guys here in the 7,600 range that have some upside. So who are a couple others that you like in that kind of middle part of the 7Ks?
Yeah, I'll probably go back to Brian Harmon. He's gained off the tee in 7 straight events now. It's not necessarily a Brian Harmon course in that it's pretty long, but the irons have come around. The short game's good. He tends to play well in these kind of weaker field events. So, given the fact that he's just playing better, I like him. Moving up to the top, I like Seamus Power as well. He rates out pretty well for me. A guy that makes a lot of birdies. T9 here last year. And then what's the ownership for Keith Mitchell? Because it feels like he just checks all the boxes this week.
10.
Only 10%, then I'm definitely going to be, double or triple the field. A guy that's just been in great form. He's a bomber. He's a good putter. T26 here last year. I don't see any reason not to play your boy Keith Mitchell.
Can always get behind that a little bit. Trey also shared with us Golf Channel article. I had forgotten about this. I remembered at the time, but the Mito had a back injury that forced him out along with Neiman at the team event a few weeks back. So, and we haven't seen him tee it up since then. So maybe that interest level is going to take a quick nosedive. Maybe we'll have to see if we can.
Never been burned by a back injury before.
No, it's only been a week or two. So for what it's worth, I had forgotten about that. So maybe that's part of the reason for the lack of ownership there. And maybe we'll see if we can maybe manually back down that projection a little bit. So right now he's going to pop in every optimal that you build. So I will pass that along to the projections team and see if we can maybe suggest a manual edit there. All right. For better or worse, I don't mind taking some GPP shots on Ryan Palmer in Texas. I know his numbers aren't great, but it's like the putter has been horrendous. It's been like Kyle Stanley level bad with the putter for Ryan Palmer. And he's usually not that bad with the putter. Maybe not great, but not, I mean, the last 50 rounds, he's 140th in this field in putting. The tee to green and ball striking numbers are still decent, and he does tend to play better in Texas. So again, GPP dart, don't mind Ryan Palmer. We've got him at 4%. Luke List, if you want to play the bomber angle, at 5%. Like, these are some guys. Tom Hoagie's had a pretty good year. I absolutely don't mind sprinkling into your tournament lineups as we get to the bottom part of the 7K range. And you can go with 2 or 3 guys in here. Tigala's had a pretty good year. We've got some steam maybe building on Wolf after that good start last week. I don't know if I'm going to chase that, especially if he's one of the more popular plays, but point stands that you can play a golfer or two down here to round out your lineups and feel okay about it. So Palmer, List, maybe Tigala are a few of mine. Who are you looking at in the bottom part of the 7Ks?
Yeah, I like Tigala. I don't think I've played him ever, maybe. So I'm on board this week. The easy course, the long course, I think that makes a lot of sense. I like Patton Kazire. Rates out as the best point per dollar play in my model. He's like top 20 in this field in birdie or better rate, top 35 in 4 of his last 5 events. And then he was 3rd here last year. So love Kazire. Anytime it's a course that doesn't require accuracy off the tee, he makes a lot of sense. Moving up a little bit, I'll go back to Charles Howell III. Coming off of a pretty good outing. He just lost 6 strokes putting. I think that was in Mexico. So the putter's been bad, but the ball striking's really been turning around for him. And then that's pretty much it. I typically play a lot of Patrick Rogers on long courses. He's got the bomber putter angle going for him, so I'll play a little bit of Patrick Rogers. And then I missed him up a little bit, but Sebastian Munoz, he's been playing great. He keeps finishing T21 to T39. I think it's 7 events in a row. And it's been great tee to green. So if he can, put that together with the good putting week, I think he's a good play as well.
Sorry, I muted myself. He's carving out that Charles Howell type of career, the 21 to 39 every week. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. So, again, there's interesting upside names like Kazire was another one you mentioned that I hadn't mentioned. We've seen Carlos Ortiz pop at times. I mean, Patrick Rogers down here hasn't done much lately, and certainly you're not going to play all these guys, but you can potentially get some upside out of them. So, and if you're playing the bomber angle, like take one guy at 6,800, 6,900, or somebody that's only 1 or 2% owned. And it could be the slate breaker. I mean, Windham Clark is a guy that I like playing on courses like this, so I'll play some of him at 6,900. But just such a deeper field compared to what we've seen a lot of recent weeks. So anything else on the 7Ks? Otherwise, you can start going down if you've got any punts in that 6K range.
Nothing else on the 7Ks. Moving down, I do like the Windham Clark, another guy, bomber putter. I like that combo this week. After that, the model always likes Pat Perez. I mean, I know we talked him up the last time he teed it up. I think he finished like T50 something. So I worry about his upside, but he's only 6,700. Smotherman's a guy that's been, getting some steam recently. Terrible around the greens, terrible putter, but the ball striking number has been awesome. In 2022, he's number one in this field in proximity from 200 plus. So I don't mind looking at Smotherman if you want to chase the ball striking. I'll go back to Svensson just because the irons are good. And then that's pretty much it for me, at least in my first dive of things.
I forgot to mention when we went through the 7Ks, we faded him for the longest time during his hot stretch, and then he kind of cooled off. And now everyone's abandoned ship on Seamus Power. So this is the spot, I think, for me. Yep. I'm gonna buy back in. We're back down to a reasonable price on Seamus Power. He's 7,900. He's not going to get a lot of ownership because he's sandwiched there between Wise and Hadwin and McNeely. Just kind of perfect in that range where nobody's playing him. So give me Seamus Power at 7,900 as a really interesting tournament option this week. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot else in the 6Ks either. I mean, plenty of options there at the bottom part of the 7K range that I think you don't really need to dip into the sixes too much. Smotherman popped to me a little bit earlier. I mentioned Adam Shank has gone from the steady cut maker to the now he's either going to miss the cut or finish top 10, which does give him some upside. So I don't mind maybe looking his way in some GPP builds as well. All right. Anybody else? And I need to take a peek through the Discord chat, make sure we didn't get any questions in there. I forgot to pull that open. So stall for just a second. How do you think the PGA is going to play next week there at Southern Hills?
I honestly haven't done much of a deep dive. I have a hard time looking too forward to things. But yeah, I mean, I'm obviously excited for it. Tiger's got all the secret tips, so he's going to win.
Justine is not happy. Justine Reed is not happy about that. She should worry more about her husband going 68, 79 than Tiger getting tips at Southern Hills. I was peeking at it. So Southern Hills has hosted 7 majors, 3 times the U.S. Open, 4 PGA championships, most recently in 2007, won by
Tiger Woods.
And 2009 U.S. Amateur won by Benny Ott. So good for Benny.
Ooh.
All right.
Did he get an exemption? I heard talk of that.
Yeah, I have not looked. We'll have to see. If he did, get ready to hear that narrative 100 times next week. You won the U.S. Amateur here in 2009. And I got sidetracked by Southern Hills that I was opening Discord. Yep, see, sidetracked just like that. All right. YouTube question, which ironically I answered without knowing. Played Seamus Power last weekend. Thoughts on going back to him after the missed cut? Absolutely. Just mentioned that and had not seen that question yet. So we are on the same page. Gregorius DeWise wants to know about Gim. I think we're breaking up. We're dating other people. We're seeing what else is out there, and maybe we'll get back together at some point. But the Gim ship has sailed. He missed the cut by 1 or 2 again. The putter is too inconsistent for Gim, I think, to hang on a course that's going to offer a ton of birdies. So, all kidding aside, no Gim for me this week.
Is he in the field?
Yeah, I think. Oh, maybe not. Well, I wasn't playing him anyway. I guess he's not. I thought I saw his name, but I must be mistaken. Maybe I dreamed it.
Just dream about him.
Yeah, we had our breakup fight, and then he's not in the field. I just completely thought he was, but I wasn't playing him anyway. So now I'm definitely not. No chance. He's not
get going, or else he's not going to get into the players next year.
Oh no, we can't have that. He'll get it going. He'll hit up the some of the easier events. We'll get there. All right. Anything else for you? I think don't think we have any other questions.
Think we're good. Best of luck, everybody. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we'll be back next week to talk the PGA, and then we're going to bring back the Twitter Spaces on Wednesday night next week for the PGA Championship. So we'll catch you then, everybody. See you next Monday. Good luck with all your lineups this week for the AT&T Byron Nelson. Thanks to Steve for producing for us behind the scenes. Thanks to Noto for joining me. I'm Justin, and have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you later.